Before I start off this video, let me make it clear that I love the Muppets. And honestly, who doesn't? From the American to the Canadian, to the young to the old, to the straight to the happy, a lot of people grew up watching a lot of these hilarious and heartwarming characters and their interactions together. However, the Muppet Show wasn't their first TV show. There were a couple before it, like Sam and Friends, Sesame Street, and a recurring sketch on Saturday Night Live that is just not good. We are of course talking about the Land of Ghosts. Wait, you never heard of it? Good! But in all seriousness, here's some history. Early in his career, Jim Henson's work wasn't so much geared for children as much as it was geared for older audiences. Think of it like how the Looney Tunes and the Flintstones first started off for adults, but over time were seen as more and more family friendly. These early Henson Muppets made references to sex and drugs, as well as sneaking in hidden messages. The first Muppet Show, Sam and Friends, had a main character, Sam, escaped life with the help of his abstract and surreal imaginary friends, based on different aspects of his life and personality. So basically, Jim Henson made a puppet who created the first self-insert OCs. These included the gluttonous Yorick, the fittingly named Professor Madcliffe, the beatnik Harry the Hipster, Chicken Liver, a Muppet who looked down on the others for lack of culture, and a lizard who was called Comet. The program was a humongous hit, and a bit after that, Jim was asked to make puppets for a little show at the public broadcasting service called Sesame Street. Sesame Street was a major success, bringing fame to both Jim and his creations. Unfortunately, while he was happy about the show's success, something Jim feared had come true. He was now a children's entertainer! What's up, Lily? He wanted to break that mold, explaining that he believed that puppetry is a medium that could be beloved by both children and adults. It previously had the Muppets on late-night talk shows such as The Ed Sullivan Show and The Jimmy Dean Show, which was the first origin of Ralph the Dog, but then came Bernie Blilstein, Jim's talent agent, who hooked him up with Canadian-American producer Lorne Michaels. Michaels was making an NBC sketch comedy series starring such talents as Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, the late John Belushi, and the late Joe DeLagno. This was called Saturday Night Live. NBC Saturday Night. It wasn't called SNL until season 2. Yeah. And so, Jim and his team conceived a series of sketches set in a world named Ghosts. This was a dark fantasy land that was filled with all sorts of grotesque creatures doing grotesque creature things. These characters were a king, a queen, their sons, their servants, and a statue of God. These were King Plubus, Queen Puda, Whis, Boss, Scred, and the mighty Favog. Let me get one thing straight. I have never seen this series. In fact, by the time of writing this, I'm not done with my Looney Tunes video. So after that, I'll finally watch this speaking series.
2,000 years later.
Wow, that was pretty bad. Yeah, this series was not a well-received sketch on Saturday Night Live, and it's fallen into relative obscurity, being canned after one season and having the Henson team move to the Muppet Show at the end of the deal. What's the issue with it? I have a couple of personal reasons why it could have failed. First off, let's start with the characters. Plubus, performed by Jim Henson doing his Loaf voice, is a grumpy dumbass who's the epitome of a lazy sleazeball. That's it. Outside of how he's a lizard king, there's not much separating him from characters like Peter Griffin or Homer Simpson. He reminds me a lot of Earl Sinclair from Dinosaurs. The difference is that despite the similarities in their personality, Earl was still a well-meaning person who loved his wife and kids. Here, Plubus is nothing but obnoxious. Pewter, performed by Alice Tweedy, is Plubus' slow, domineering, and quite ugly wife. Ugh. Pewter is just plain annoying, just screams and bosses Plubus around 24/7. Both of them are having affairs with their assistants, Plubus with Foss and Pewter with Scred. Let's talk about those guys now. Foss, played by Fan Bill, is just puppet eye candy. That's it. Scred, performed by Jelly Nelson, is basically just Plubus' sidekick. He also has the worst voice in the entire sketch.
2 chickens! Get in there, you little guys.
Mm-hmm. And 1 glig.
Oh, we don't have a glig. Let's see. Oh, look!
Oh, there.
I had to listen to that multiple times. Yes, not fun to listen to, is it? Also in sketch 9, Peter says that she won't see Scred anymore unless he tells Plubus of their affair. You do know that'll just make things the worse for the guy, right, Peter? Right? Whis, performed by Little Hunt, is Plubus and Peter's son who is a smoking addict. He's the least focused on, so he barely has a purpose. He's not the dumb main character, that's Plubus. He's not the bossy one, that's go to Pewter. Outside of maybe his smoking addiction, it's not a good showcase of how Plubus and Pewter's meals is failing. That's false and Scred. You could cut him out of the show, and with the exception of a few sketches, nothing would change. Honestly, the best character here is Frank Oz's character, the mighty Favog. He's basically a god, but he's also very snarky and is often sarcastic to the rest of the cast. I don't know why, but I find the idea of a sardonic deity to be pretty clever, and Favog has the best lines of the show. And that's it. Just Leptilian, loyal versions of Fled and Wilma and their servants. All of these characters are complete slime balls, which I get, that's the point, but look at, say, Comet. He was sensible and sweet, but he also lost his temper a lot of times, then was also often seen as being sad. He still cared about the others, but he wasn't afraid to show if he was upset with them. The Land of Gold's characters have one, maybe two personality traits, and that's it. They don't seem to even care for each other all that much. Just either hating each other, blading each other, or even cheating on each other behind their backs in ways that aren't even funny. Now, let's focus on the humor. The comedy of Saturday Night Live and the Muppets are a stark contrast. The Muppets are more playful yet intellectual, while SNL is more satirical. And let me tell you, they aren't really a match. Literally, the only joke here is making references to drugs, alcohol, and sex. They're not even clever in that regard. Look, he's smoking, but it's not through a cigarette, but through a cradle. That's funny and clever. Laugh, damn you! Look, Scud wants to bang Pewter. Funny. Sex by itself is not a joke. Let's look at the sexual education scene in Monty Python and the Meaning of Life. The teacher in the skit is a sexual education teacher, and he teaches the students sex ed by banging his wife in front of them. The punchline isn't sex as much as it is how far the teacher is willing to go to teach sex to his students. That's the joke. Here, the joke is just mentioning sex and expecting to get a chuckle. Sometimes the jokes even land if they're not clued. For example, in the second sketch, Plubus whines about not being able to pay the bills when he's the king. He has as much money as he probably wants. How could he not? Ugh, never mind, whatever. Maybe the joke is that he's a king who can't pay bills of all things, but I don't know. I do think I should mention some positives. First off, the set design. The design for the Land of Ghosts itself is really good. It's intricate, well designed, and it fits the prehistoric fantasy world very well. Not to mention that the designs for the Muppets used in the sketch are all amazing, and are filled with more personality than the actual characters. The sketch from the first Lily Tomlin episode is honestly not awful, but that's literally because it's one of two sketches not written by the SNL cast, which I'll get to later. It was instead written by Jelly Nelson. The sketch from the Dale Clayburgh episode is also passable, and that's because of the Muppets themselves. None of them are in it. It's just Chevy using his hands to stand in for little fuckles, and it's funnier than any of the sketches, but that just boils down to the novelty of it.
When do you think your husband will be back? August?
Every man should be punched in the face. It's a rite of passage. In my day, Friday night was smoke a doobie, feel up a gal, and then get your teeth knocked out by a Republican.
Gonna tell you the truth, I tried to watch all 17 sketches, but after sketch 12, I dropped out. The series isn't that funny or charming, and I can see why people hated it, including the cast and crew of SNL. SNL writer Alex Wabel said that they drew straws in order to find out who would be the unlucky bastard writing the next Ghost sketch, with Al Franken and the late Dom Davis and the late Mag O'Donoghue not wanting to write sketches, with the latter being more vocal than the last, stating, "I don't like the felt," and even letting my boy Big Bird according to Wabel. In 1999, Frank Oz said this: "There was good and bad. The bad, unfortunately, was that I didn't think we really belong as Saturday Night Live. I think our very explosive, more cartoony comedy didn't jive with the kind of Second City casual laid-back comedy, so the writers had a lot of trouble writing for us. And I think that's the problem, how hardly the writing styles of the Henson crew and the SNL writers clash. The SNL writers didn't know or understand how to write for the Muppets. I feel like if there were more rules given to the writers, that or Jim's team just wrote the sketches, the series would be much better. Like, make Plubus a dumb joke, but make him a dumb joke with a heart of gold. Or maybe make them even worse and have them suffer for it, providing not just comic comedy, but also showing to the viewers what could happen if you like the characters from Ghosts. However, there is a bright side. All the elements from the Land of Ghosts saw the inspiration for Henson on his film without Crystal, seeing a lot of visual similarities when it came to the character designs and war. I'd also like to turn your attention to the TGAF series, Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs was one of the last things Jim Henson came up with before his death, and it feels like it was extremely influenced by the Land of Ghosts. Hell, even Earl and Flan are similar to Plubus and Pewter, albeit with more redeeming qualities. And let me tell you, Dinosaurs is a lot better than the Land of Goats. There are a decent amount of adult topics, but the characters are likable, the humor lands, and the Muppet crew got the perfect blend of maturity mixed in with the Henson flair, what Goats failed at. I think this is what they were trying to do when it came to the Land of Goats. If you see it on Disney Plus, check it out. So yeah, until next time, this is the Crazy Clola flying away.